The federal government is announcing how it plans to crack down on the gang violence that has a lot of people in this part of the world worried about their safety. But will it be enough? That's the focus of NewsHour Insight. Here's Deb.
Well, Chris, Ottawa has finally responded to the growing pressure to take some action, with the Prime Minister traveling to Vancouver today to meet face-to-face with civic leaders. He also talked exclusively with Global News, and I'll have more on that in a moment. But back in Ottawa, his Justice Minister unveiled new laws designed to take a bite out of the crime wave. The big question, of course, is it enough? Brian Coxford begins our coverage.
He came with our premier to bring hundreds of millions of dollars for transit to the Lower Mainland and ended up talking about gang crime and what Ottawa intends to do about it.
Part of the difficulty we have in Ottawa is we are dealing with 30, 40 years of criminal justice policy that has been going in the wrong direction.
The Premier's visit and concerns were directed at over a dozen shootings and 6 deaths on Metro Vancouver streets in the last few weeks. It was central to the face-to-face discussions the two men had after the transit announcement, talking behind closed doors for half an hour about BC's needs to end the violence.
I can tell you this, it was a very constructive and a positive meeting. I was clear that more needs to be done. He's clear that he needs us to be out there reminding everybody that we have to act together, including the opposition.
At the same time in Ottawa, Canada's Justice Minister announced legislation to get tough on gang crime.
This legislation would make murders connected to organized crime activity automatically receive first-degree treatment. Our new legislation would also create a new broad-based offense to target drive-by and other intentional shootings that involve the reckless disregard for the life or safety of others. This legislation will also create 2 new offenses to put criminals on notice that we will not tolerate attacks on police and peace officers.
The new legislation was introduced by the Prime Minister at an afternoon meeting in Vancouver of police chiefs and families. Families who lost innocent loved ones caught in the crossfire of gangland shootings.
For me, I would really like to encourage our members of the opposition to especially members of oppositions from British Columbia to do the right thing and vote for legislation that will curb the freedoms of gang members here and give police more accessibility to do their jobs.
The Prime Minister understands, I really believe this, that there is a terrible human toll to this crime wave, this gang activity in British Columbia, that he understands that it is impacting our society.
Eileen has covered most of the things I would like to say about sentences, longer sentences, gun offenses, jail, no 2-for-1, no bail.
Many of the shootings have occurred in quiet neighborhoods, some in the middle of the day. Among the victims so far, 2 women. On Friday, Canada's Justice Minister is flying to Vancouver to announce more get-tough measures to confront gang problems here.
While the Prime Minister was in BC, our Attorney General, Wally Opal, was in Ottawa touting BC's shopping list of new laws. But he only got vague commitments that the feds will look at doing more. Would these proposed new laws really make a difference? Aaron MacArthur has that part of the story.
Investigators combing the scene of another gangland murder. It's an all-too-common occurrence in Metro Vancouver, and the public has demanded action. Today's proposed legislation changes don't go far enough even for BC's Attorney General. He says the new laws are just a start. The federal government needs to do more.
We think that the present laws that restrict the police right to wiretap telephones is overly restrictive. Keep in mind that that legislation came into effect in 1974. There have been some revisions to it, but the fact is the police, in order to get an authorization to intercept telephone communications, have to go through a number of steps. Sometimes it takes 3 to 4 weeks to get an authorization from a judge.
Even if the government can push this legislation through a minority parliament, according to the experts, changing the legislation is the easy part of the equation. The hard part comes on the enforcement side. Dealing with organized crime requires organized policing. In addition to an amalgamated police force, the provincial government could make a huge stride with just one move.
The provincial government should be contemplating and moving on the idea of creating an organised crime agency that is dedicated to addressing organised crime in the province as a whole.
Organised police force or not, gang task force or not, the simple solution, keep the bad guys locked up. Police forces across the province are banging their heads against the wall, watching people they arrest walk out of court time and time again.
We're spending thousands of dollars trying to keep the community safe with people that are out on bail. If they had been kept in custody, we would have safe communities right now, relatively speaking. If they go to jail for a number of years for those guns offenses, we would have safe communities for the years to come.
Expect more announcements on crime and punishment from the federal government. The Justice Minister expected to be in Vancouver tomorrow.
And BC law enforcement and politicians not the only ones who want Ottawa to do more. The BC Marijuana Party launched a protest outside the downtown government building where Harper was holding the roundtable on crime and where I sat down for an exclusive interview with the Prime Minister.
No more drug war! No more drug war! No more drug war! No more drug war!
Some familiar faces in the small but vocal gathering on the corner of Georgia and Hamilton. The protesters saying that it won't help to put more people in jail for drug offenses. They want to legalize and regulate all drugs, and they claim that that would put the gangs out of business. As you might expect, the federal government couldn't disagree more strongly. The Harper Conservatives are looking at putting more people in the drug trade and organized crime in jail, not fewer. Only problem is, in our recent spate of gang drive-by shootings and murders, the police haven't caught any suspects. And I posed that question to the Prime Minister in our exclusive interview.
Federal government doesn't do all of the policing, and I understand other levels of government are putting more into actual policing on the ground. That has to be done. But those police have to be assisted by tough laws that have appropriate penalties for offenses. And then, of course, there's the whole issue of the courts as well. We have to make sure we're making the right judicial appointments as we move forward.
Speaking about our province, our Attorney General is actually in Ottawa today, and one of the things he really wants to get rid of is the 2-for-1 deals that they make. I mean, these guys get off with twice the time that they've already served, even though they're guilty. How can that be, and are you going to change that?
Well, it's a long-standing policy. We're certainly looking at changing it. It's the difficulty, Deb, with so much of this is there are so many things wrong with the criminal justice system that, you know, we have to prioritize things and push the most important things through. I talked to the Premier about this morning. It's certainly one of the things on our radar screen. But what we really need, if I can be blunt with your viewers, we really need the public to keep the pressure on the opposition.
Why is it that career criminals seem to have more rights than the victims?
What's frustrated me, as I've looked at the way criminal justice has gone over the years, is that there's a, you know, not just innocent until proven guilty. In the eyes of some politicians, you're innocent even after you're proven guilty.
So you think that the justice system has gone soft because career criminals, after they get more than 40 convictions, they have shorter sentences than those that have had fewer convictions.
Look, my whole political career and our whole government has been premised on the belief that the criminal justice system has been too soft for too long.
And if you'd like to see the entire interview with the Prime Minister, you can tune into NewsHour Final with Jill Kropp. We're also posting the interview on our website at globaltvbc.com. And Chris, that's tonight's Insight.
All right. Thanks very much, Deb.